Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the most important conversations liberation meditation series. Each morning, our meditations consist of a short talk pulled from TMIC's Whole Life Architecture program. And we then move into a meditation after the talk. We have different meditation guides throughout the week with different types of meditations that we host. Our focus is on liberation because we believe that liberation is the catalytic state of the creative process. It is the self-creation process, and these meditation talks speak to the importance of each of us attaining this ultimate state of our own personal creative power, which requires liberation. Liberation from our conditioning, liberation from our attachment to an identity that we think of who we're supposed to be versus who we actually are. And then we move into the meditation as an opportunity to reflect and to open to the wider world and to the wider possibilities for yourself. We hope these meditations are helpful and encourage you to invite others to join you. If you'd like to join our meditations live instead of through streaming, you can go to tmicglobal.com. You can enroll for free in our free global community. You can also learn more about whole life architecture and some of our other programs. This morning, I'd like to pick up on where we left off yesterday, and we've been kind of talking about this throughout the week. We've been talking about the extraordinariness of being ordinary. We've been talking about allowing yourself to drop in a place of full acceptance. But in order to do this, to be able to connect to the essence of who you are as a creator, and to do that, we have to answer the question that Buddhist monks ask: who were you when you were born? Who were you before all of the conditioning? And I used the example yesterday of how liberation is like organic food. It exists relative to a condition. As in the case of organic food exists relative to the condition that food has been made toxic with herbicides and pesticides. That is the conditioning of food today. And therefore, it creates the distinction between food as we know it in its current form, in its current conditioned form with herbicides and pesticides, and organic food. Food the way it used to be, food the way it was when it was unconditioned, when it was in a pure and natural state. And liberation for human beings is no different. All of us are existing inside of a perceptual experience of our own conditioning that occurred when we were very young from our friends, family, and community. And in order to create a life by design, as opposed to merely tolerating a life by default, we have to learn to open to a new possibility of who we could become, who we might create ourselves to be. And so this is a challenge for a lot of people because we remain very attached and stuck in our unliberated state. We remain in the world and of the world. We are fully immersed in the of the world dynamics, all of the expectations of who we're supposed to be, all of the conditioned frameworks that define things like success, that define what should make us happy, that define how we should relate to each other, what is acceptable and unacceptable. And so we learn from a very young age to be self-censoring, to censor the self and become someone else. We start to believe this censored self, this conditioned self, and therefore we begin to perceive more of that in the world. And it reinforces our belief systems, our conditioned belief systems, And then we perceive more of that. And so it becomes this compounding effect. And over years and decades, we lose ourselves. This is why so many people have the experience when they have an opening of finding themselves, or they may be on the search to find themselves. What does that mean to find themselves? It means that somewhere deep under all of the conditioning, under all of the learned layers of who you were supposed to be to win at the of the world game, you lost yourself. And yet we've all had experiences where we've had that sudden flash of insight. Maybe we were at a conference, maybe we were at a workshop, maybe we experienced and encountered what the Japanese refer to as a wabi-sabi moment. Maybe we were at a tropical beach location, or maybe we were touring in Europe, or something somewhere struck us, and there was this flash, this insight of the true self that popped up for a brief second. And when these moments happen, they are not only joyful, they tend to overwhelm us, and we start to almost panic trying to hold on to and keep that experience. And suddenly we're kind of split. Suddenly we've experienced the possible self buried under all the conditioning. We've had a breakthrough, as the saying goes. We've had an insight. We've experienced ourselves liberated, authentic in the moment, and then it closes up and the conditioning is back. And all that's left is the memory of that breakthrough, that sudden insight. And we want that intensity back, and we want to recreate it. But instead of doing the work to become the creator of our life, we end up just ruminating in story. We end up telling everyone about this incredible experience we had at this conference, or listening to this teacher, or on that trip. And it becomes this almost totem that we hold on to and we carry with us, a symbol of the potential that's within us. But then we're right back in the of the world dynamics. In our whole life architecture programs, we teach the importance and the way to be in the world, but not of it. But when we're trapped in our conditioning, we are not only in the world, participating in world things, we are constituted of it. We are of the expectations of the world. We are of the rules, of the systems, of the structures, of the validation seeking. We are immersed in it. We cannot distinguish between ourselves and the conditioning. We are like that organic food that is totally covered in the conditioning of the world. And yet we so desperately seek to get back to that natural state that we had that glimpse of in that breakthrough or in that flash of a moment. But unfortunately, that experience is no longer there, because it's never been the case that you can transform yourself and connect to your authentic and natural self simply through insights or breakthroughs. This is a myth. Insights and breakthroughs are important because they open something for exploration, but if you don't then become the explorer and dig into that and commit to that path, the insight just becomes a memory. And it becomes a high almost that we end up chasing. We want to recreate that high without having to go through the effort and the discomfort that it would take to actually create and constitute ourselves to become the person that can live in that state every day, all day. It would mean we would have to drop things in our conditioning, things we become highly attached to, people, circumstances, jobs. In our conditioned, unliberated life by default, it doesn't mean that we don't get attached. It doesn't mean that things aren't pleasant and joyful. It doesn't mean that we can't have fun. Of course we can. It just means it's like the organic food again. It doesn't mean that by eating organic food, we're not also getting the vitamins and the minerals and the nutrients of eating non-organic food that is also in organic food. It just means we're also getting in the non-organic food the herbicides and the pesticides as well. Our conditioning gives us some of the benefits of a life by design, but it also gives us many of the disbenefits of a life by default, of a life where we are entrapped in our conditioning. And if you just think of your own life, you'll notice that you have had many joyful experiences, but you also are tolerating so many things. How do you know? One of the things we teach in whole life architecture is the instructive and transformative power of complaint. Where are you complaining about things in your life? Where are you having the experience of wishing, hoping something would be different than it is? Some situation that you're just tolerating, but you complain about. Maybe it's a job, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's the state of your health, maybe it's the state of the world. And when we complain, it's because in those situations we are complaining about, we are actually experiencing a loss of power. We are experiencing life as a victim. And when we are in our conditioned state, our unliberated and conditioned state, we are perpetually at a loss of power. We are at the will and the whims of the societal systems and structures and the leadership of those systems and structures. We are not autonomous. We are not sovereign creators of our own life. In fact, in our conditioning, we have been taught how to not be creators of anything. We have been conditioned to be highly left-brain individuals in our current society, burying our emotions, repressing our emotions. We don't know how to access our creative potential. We don't know how to think critically and creatively. We're just simply going through the motions. We're what I refer to, we have been conditioned to be human doings and have lost the connection of our human beingness. But now we live in a time where there's so much possibility because all of these systems and structures are changing. Our society is going through the most massive reorientation probably since the Renaissance. The things that we grew up with expecting and predicting to be normal life are falling away. If there was ever an opportunity for you to consider who you could create yourself to be if you were no longer constrained and imprisoned by the systems and structures of your conditioning, it is now. There's never been a greater time to ask the question, what does it mean to be a human being? Not a human doing, not someone who's rewarded to turn tricks for a company or a corporation and to consume life, to consume things, to consume ideas, to consume space, to consume energy, to consume people, but to actually be standing in your power as a creator of your own life, where you are creating a life by design. This is the most unique moment we are living through right now. A lot of people see what's going on as a result of artificial intelligence, the geopolitical reshuffling that is occurring, the migrations that are happening. People are moving to different parts of the world. It may occur as chaotic, but in all chaos is enormous creative potential. But in order to access that creative potential, you need to first become a creator. That means you need to liberate yourself from your conditioning. And it begins with accepting yourself as you are in order to create yourself into who you will become. I'll say that again. You must accept yourself as you are in this moment That doesn't mean tolerate it, but accept that you are where you are, that you are how you are, in order to move forward and start to create yourself into who you will become. So you don't need to tolerate the complaining anymore. It's time for you to take a step back, look at those areas in your life where you're in complaint, where you're unsatisfied. For many, as an example, it might be their job. But with AI, we know so many people are going to either lose their jobs or their jobs are going to be totally reinvented and recreated. What a better time to finally say, I'm going to create something for myself, what I have always wanted to do. Maybe you've always wanted to start your own business and become an entrepreneur. Maybe you wanted to become a famous author. Maybe you wanted to become a musician or an artist. Maybe you wanted to become a coach or someone who worked with other people. Maybe you wanted to not work in an office, but you wanted to work outside with your hands and be connected to nature. All the excuses and the complaints that you've had to just live with, they're not necessary anymore because the whole society is being reconstituted. Who will you constitute yourself to be? So this is an opportunity, but it begins with liberation. You cannot create who you're going to be until you first accept yourself as you are and then liberate yourself from the parts of that of yourself that don't serve you, that are unaligned with your authentic nature. Most people don't know their authentic nature, but there's an opportunity for you to discover that. That's what we do with our whole life architecture program. We are a community that is holding space and journeying together to recreate ourselves, each of us individually by design, to create the life that we desire to create for ourselves by design. We're no longer willing to tolerate living a life by default. And our head sometimes is just full of so much clutter, so much learned stuff. That's where the expectations of the friends, family, community, and society exist. Maybe you're tired of bending yourself to align with all of that conditioning, all of those expectations, instead of aligning with your own heart. And here's the thing, you may even feel that your situation is unique, that the stuff you're dealing with is so overwhelming, is so heavy. No one else could possibly be dealing with the same thing as you are, but the reality is that's not true. Everyone is dealing with exactly the same thing that you're dealing with, but you don't have to do it alone. In fact, the notion of self-help is a misnomer. It doesn't exist. No human being can fully help themselves because our mind prevents this from happening. We were designed to be in community, to work together, to lift each other up, to elevate each other, and to journey together as we simultaneously create our own individuated life by design. This is available to all of us at this very unique moment in human history. But until we liberate ourselves from our conditioning, we will feel as a loss of power to life, because our condition has relegated us victims. It is our conditioning that has us believe the things that we believe about ourselves and others, the things we believe about our country, the things we believe about our society, the things we believe about the world, because our conditioning is only concerned with the continuation of the systems and structures that our conditioning was meant to reinforce in us. We are currently constituted as our conditioning, but we don't need to be. We can be constituted as that which we create for ourselves to be. but that's going to require work, effort, discomfort. But the way I look at it is the discomfort and the effort that we're going through anyway in this moment as all of these systems and structures fall away and there's a nothingness or a space for a brief moment before new systems and structures are created. Why not now? There has never been a better time to draw a line and say, I'm going to create my life by design. I'm going to take advantage of this space, this moment in time where all things are being recreated and all things can be made new, including myself and including my life. So that's the invitation this morning, to give some consideration to how much effort, life force energy it takes to tolerate a life by default, a life that you never really chose. It just seemed to happen to you. And it happened to you at a very young age, where it was just a survival mechanism to do the things you were being told to do to fit in, to get along, to be validated. But now you're much older and you're living in a unique moment of human history where, should you choose, you get to choose who you will be. I'd invite you to think about that this morning. As we move into our meditation, I'm going to invite Mignon to guide us through our neurosculpting meditation for today.
Thank you so much, Chad, and good morning, everyone. In this morning's meditation, we'll explore releasing the idea of attachment and the extraordinary, and instead invite the beauty of the ordinary. And you may hear me spell out words or dial things up or down along with fun imagery, all by design as part of the neurosculpting meditation process. A process that helps calm the nervous system, prime the brain for creating supportive ideas, and gives you agency in how you move through life. So, in this week's meditation, it's an opportunity for you to deepen your practice and experience its full benefits. And so, let's begin this meditation by settling into the body, noticing the support beneath you. That might be the ground, a cushion, or a chair, or the bed. And notice how you are gently supported effortlessly. You might take a moment to become aware and orient to the space you are in, noticing the room and furnishings within the room in relation to you. What's in front, maybe like a wall or some other interesting object. What's above you, maybe if you're laying down and looking up, and perhaps what's behind. And as you are orienting to your body in this space at this moment, you can relax and let your mind wander, because that is what minds do. And that's okay, because gravity is keeping you right here, just as your breath is also keeping you right here in this moment. Your breath that is breathing just as it always does, naturally and consistent. And with your awareness, you can influence this, breathing deeper and slower. And if you'd like, on your next inhale, you might become aware of the air as it flows in through your nose. And on the next exhale, maybe you notice the release of the belly and lungs as the air flows out and disperses into the room. The inhale and the exhale, the in and the out, as your breath continues to flow effortlessly. As your breath continues to breathe itself, you might take note of any place in your body holding tension. What would it feel like to just let that go? To soften and relax just a little more, letting your shoulders drop and unclenching your jaw. You might want to roll out your wrists or ankles. As you are relaxing, there may be things adding to your comfort, the comfort of the familiar space, maybe the comfort of a soft cushion, or the comfort of knowing you have what you need in this moment to be right here. What do you notice that is adding to your comfort at this moment? As you are making note of your comfort, I invite you to gently close your eyes or soften your gaze if that feels comfortable. And because you are fully supported comfortably, you can let your creative mind wander playfully. It might be interesting to imagine having wings. Where would your wings be? Would they grow out of your back? Maybe they're located under your arms, stretching down to your wrists. Are they the same color as your hair or a different shade? I wonder if they're strong enough to lift you up into the air, or more like an ostrich, they just help you move along. Or perhaps it's more fun to imagine that your feet were wheels and you could roll along at high speeds if necessary, or slow down at will. Maybe the wheels are retractable. Your creative mind is awakened, and I welcome you as the curator of this meditation. You get to write the story of this meditation that releases the extraordinary and brings in simple embodiment of your ordinary self. So, to start, maybe we'll think about time spent in your mind reaching for great expectations or attached to some idea. If there's a word or attribute that comes to mind, what is it? something like being RICH or recognition or success. What word comes to mind for you? And how does creative mind imagine this word, idea, or aspiration? Do you imagine color or temperature or a texture or some other thing that just pops up? Maybe like red and hot, or blue and sharp, or shiny and cool. What does creative mind imagine? And if you were to imagine a sensation with the idea of this, where in your body do you feel that it might be? Maybe in the palm of your hand or in your head, maybe in your belly or somewhere else. But what if you didn't have to be extraordinary? What if in this moment you could simply be? What would happen if you tried on the possibility that by being ordinary, you are already extraordinary? If you would choose an I am statement that describes an attribute of yourself that has served you well, what spontaneously comes to mind? An I am that expresses your pure, uncomplicated presence naturally. Maybe like, I am strong, or I am funny, or I am enough. Maybe some other word or words that suit you well, authentically. And your breath is breathing and your body is supported, still held right here with this word or idea. You might imagine the extraordinary ideas of yourself just falling away, like leaves letting go and floating down to earth, or ice melting, or a flame cooling. Because here in the ordinary, there might be peace, ease, or truth. What does your creative mind imagine letting go of? And what do you see as your natural state of being? And with a deep inhale and a slow exhale, you might imagine shifting shapes or colors or sensations. As your mind explores, what do you imagine? What is your mind telling you about the nature of your ordinary being? And as your story unfolds, notice how it resonates in your body. Are there any shifts that you perceive or imagine? Maybe it's steady, perhaps peaceful or true, because this is yours, not something to reach for, but something that has perhaps been here all along. You are welcome to breathe it in and invite it to settle. What if it could expand and you could have this feeling and embody it to the fullest? I invite you to imagine a dial. It could be like a fancy knob or an old fashioned radio tuner. And if it were, would have settings for 1 to 10, with 1 being a gentle whisper and 10 the confident beating like a drum. What happens when you gently turn up the dial? Is there a tone or vibration to your I am? What level is comfortable? Maybe you imagine turning the dial past 8. Does that vibration or tone get more expansive? And maybe you prefer to turn it down to a 2, letting it settle softly. You are in control of the dial. You are the one fine tuning this experience of your authentic, ordinary self. And as you explore this, and as this shift in vibration settles into your body, notice, where do you sense it most now? Is it in your throat and speaking your truth? Maybe in your fingertips, or perhaps somewhere else? I wonder if this is something that has been simmering and ready for exploration. Or is it an idea that has been tried on and ready for expansion? Either way, you can bring yourself right back to this moment anytime by placing your non dominant hand on your body to remind you of this, if that feels comfortable for you. Or maybe you prefer to make a gesture, like a thumb to finger or something that else that can bring you right back to this knowing whenever you choose. And that will signal the return of this moment. And if there were, or you were to give this experience a name, what might it be? maybe a single word or words that hold meaning, or perhaps something playful, a made up word, a word that, when spoken, thought, or written, brings you right back here. What's your word? And this name and the gesture are always available to you, ready to bring you back to the quiet truth of simply being. And with every breath, you are welcome to experience yourself more deeply anchored in the quiet truth of ordinary self. And you can continue to explore this extraordinary moment of ordinary for the remaining time of the meditation and return often. Embrace it and be well.
And welcome back, everybody. Reconnecting to the world without from the world within, resting in the relaxed contemplative and open, liberated state you find yourself in, you now turn to move back out into the world, into the conditioned world, the world of busyness and these systems and structures that are no longer serving you. How to be in the world and of the world, and not of the world. In it, but not of it, is the objective. As we break for today and we continue again on the beginning of next week, on Monday, as you go out into your day, see if you can stay connected to this open space that you have, this open creative potential to be anyone you choose to be and how you choose to be today. And see if you can observe as you go about your day those areas that don't serve you, those parts of your life you are complaining about, you are in resistance to, maybe you're anxious about it. Use those little insights and those moments of awareness to get curious about what you would create in their place, how you could approach those situations from a liberated, powerful place and not as a victim. How you can step into your power as the creator of your experience in your life and as the creator of all the aspects of your life. Let that be an ongoing meditation for you as you move out into your day and you engage in the of the world dynamics. Wishing you all a wonderful day and weekend, and we will continue our work on Monday.